Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode into the Rise and Fall series, a series where we take a step back and look at some of our favorite characters in the DFFOO universe and see how well they shaped the game when they first came out, as well as see how well they're handling the game now. As always, I want to give a special thank you to the Tonberry Troupe for their amazing infographics, as well as Rem's Dissidia database where most of the information for today's video was found. Also, we have a special guest joining us for today's video as we have loads of information to cover, so let's just go ahead and dive right into the rise and fall of Dissidia Final Fantasy Opera Omnia's cursed artifact characters.
Hey guys, Soul here. Riley so graciously is having me back, and we are, as you guys have no doubt heard by now, talking about cursed artifacts and the cursed six. Oh my goodness, there's a lot to say about these characters. But yeah, really thank you for having me, man. It's nice to be back.
There's honestly a lot to say about these characters, and the one thing that they all have in common, which I'll kind of start with, is that when you do have all of their artifacts, they're all pretty busted. So yeah.
Yeah, I think the thing with the cursed characters is that, and it's interesting about the cursed characters because originally when they released, you really wanted double cursed, which was like back then with Idogas, that was like the holy grail. You know, it was really hitting the lottery. But as the meta and the game has progressed, we've actually seen the artifact priorities move away from double cursed and start focusing more on like an attack 108 paired with one of those artifacts. So I think that's really interesting how the game has evolved to the point where it's just like, as good as those curse artifacts are, it's like, okay, no, we just need more attack, like all the attack.
Yeah, Lufinia is definitely, well, I don't want to say Lufinia itself, but Lufinia as a whole is definitely a cause for those 108s because you may have, for example, Sarah, who I guess is exempt from all these rules. Like, for example, Yuna, who needs 108 just to not do ones in a sense. But yeah, it's a lot different now, which I actually enjoy because now it's not just like, oh my god, I didn't get double curse. I'm like dead forever trying to farm this. Now you have, I guess, some breathing room.
Yeah, exactly. It's a lot less stressful now going for these characters if you are someone that worries about artifacts or you're a min maxer, because you don't have the so to speak guillotine over your neck where it's just like, oh my god, I have to get three double curse. This is going to take me actual years, and now it's to the point where you only need one of them. So it's easier, but it's still just it's still so bad trying to roll one of these things. Oh,
Yeah, no, for sure. And before we begin, I actually wanted to honestly really thank you from the bottom of my heart for even sharing your time with me here. I know in the beginning you were definitely like, hey, let's, come out, do things. And I was just like really super shy. And I honestly wouldn't be doing this without, your help and your incentive to kind of push me out there. So honestly, thank you so much. And I love the fact that when I came into your Discord, which if no one has joined, I'll definitely put a link to Soul's Discord below because he's built such amazing, amazing community. And I honestly felt immediately welcomed. And I'm really grateful that we instantly clicked and became friends. And now here we are.
I really do appreciate the kind words, man. I've been doing this now for, oh gosh, I think over 2 years now, making videos, and I've been through many ups and many downs, but this community, and the people I met along the way are amazing. So I I I really feel like this game and these people have given me so much, and so any opportunity I get, I try to give back because I've never really felt, like this channel is me, just against the world. It's always been me trying to contribute, me trying to help the group as a whole. And plus, like you said, we're friends. So when you asked me, if I want to help work on a project with you, I jumped at the chance because it's really fun doing these kind of things with you. So I appreciate your thanks, but thank you for having me as well. It's you got to host the thing for me to be able to join it.
Well, like I said, I definitely wouldn't have gotten the courage to even have done my lightning video without your help. So thank you so much. But so let's go. I wanted to start with Vivi first. And the reason why I wanted to start with Vivi first is because everything that kind of hyped out with him in Global is he's just fresh in everyone's mind, you know? So when talking about Vivi and like how he came to the game now and where he is, why do you think it kind of changed in a sense of, Vivi had cursed artifacts where I'm sure there's plenty of people out there who wanted to get the cursed artifacts even before his LD. And then now his LD is out and the struggle to get his artifacts came even more prevalent. So how do you think that kind of changed from where he was before to where he is now?
So Vivi before his LD, and of course with a global first LD, he's the very first one. So he was the shiniest toy in the store, and everyone wanted their hands on him. I saw, I'll be honest, I barely saw Vivi used when he got his EX Plus. I heard that the people that used him, they swore up and down he was solid. He was a solid play, but I barely saw anyone use him. And then he gets that LD, and suddenly now he skyrockets into popularity. And the thing about Vivi's cursed artifacts, I remember even when the cursed artifacts released, and people were talking about, okay, who needs what? Vivi, I remember very, very distinctly, was I think the only character where people were saying, you don't need both cursed, because one of his cursed artifacts is charged fire, and literally all it does is it just gives him another use of fire, which back then, it's still, even fire really isn't anything that special. It's like a couple brave hits and then an HP dump. I don't even think there's splash on it. I might be wrong about that, but I don't think there's splash. So even back then, people were saying, don't worry about the charge, don't worry about the fire, just try and get yourself an attack 108. And then the big one, Vivi's other cursed artifact is just the stuff of legend. Now, if I'm remembering correctly, it's an extra 20% attack and extra 20% speed, and you can get 3 of those. The thing that with Vivi is he has always had very potent generic buffs. I think he gives himself a whopping, I think it's like 60% attack and 60% max brave. It might even be more than that. It's pretty crazy. And then with his EX Plus and his rework, he got a frame buff, which raises his max brave and attack even more. And then he got the LD, which is raising his attack even more. And so when you add those cursed artifacts, specifically the second one on there, I mean, it's insane. This dude is punching holes through steel. Even now, I mean, we speculated that he would be quite competitive into mid Lufenia, and thus far he's shown absolutely no signs of slowing down. He's still a very, very potent weapon indeed.
The the one thing that I'll say that was contributing to the major part of, I guess, kind of Vivi falling off is that just like in my Wool video, my Warrior of Light video, he's one of the first characters you unlock. So in a sense, that kind of worked against him, just like it worked against Rem, because as soon as you start gaining more people in your rosters, you sort of push him to the side without even realizing you're pushing Vivi to the side, just because you're gaining more, more magic characters, more DPS. Just it's just natural for that to happen. So when something like this comes out, like an LD that's global first, people are like, oh my god, like do I have Vivi? Do I have this for him? Do I have that? And then they realize, like me, I just have a bronze weapon with a bronze armor, and oh my god, I have to start from scratch. So I think that's definitely a factor in kind of like for all of these characters as well, because I'm sure like all of them are, well, I'm not sure. We all know they're going to get their LDs eventually. So eventually we're all going to have to come back to these cursed characters and see what it's going to be like for them then. But when it comes to Vivi, now that we know he has his LD, I know for one, for me specifically, I kind of felt like it was just kind of like it was just the hype that was really nice. But Vivi's still Vivi. Like he still has that one skill that doesn't do anything. He just gains brave with a hit afterwards just to dump his HP. Then he has the meteor, which thankfully now is fire enchanted thanks to his LD buff, which before it was not. And then like you said, fire. So if we take a look at his entire kit now, it's really kind of the same. The only thing different is that he has an LD now and that he does splash damage with the LD. So take all of that out and it's just, you know, there he is. There's Vivi doing the same thing he was doing before.
Yeah, for sure. He did get his rework with the EX Plus, but he certainly has kind of like an older character kit's makeup. I love his LD. I think his LD is very, very, very strong, and it does a lot for him. I love the follow up, and I love the fact that it batteries him after the Brave dumps on both enemies with 100% splash, so he prevents himself from getting broken. I really do like that, but yeah, his skill one leaves a lot to be desired, and his skill two, it does have a very nice high turn rate with those potent buffs. But yeah, Vivi without that LD, yeah.
Yeah, it's like it's sad when you think about it because now, like I said, now we're all fresh in our minds, and when we think about things like this, I know an actual player who's just kind of enjoying the game, maybe not think about these things, which is why we're here. We talk about everything. So when you actually look at everything that Vivi has to offer within his kit now, you're like, oh, he's great, like he's so good. But when you take all that away, and maybe it's like, for example, who's someone who maybe started now and doesn't have his LD, it's just like Vivi's just kind of here, you know, just not really doing much. Yes, they may have his curse artifacts because you can farm that whenever you want now, thanks to the new quality of life change, which makes getting cursed artifacts a joke. But like I said, like just from all of that, it's just an LD. And I think him being global first kind of also hurt him in a sense to his downfall because when the next global first comes out, who's going to be talking about Vivi? Who's going to be using Vivi then? Because by then the devs may say, okay, this Lufenia, we're going to be actually, you know, contributing to people using Vivi now because he's been around a little bit more. And the major thing about being a global first is that the JP side hasn't tested him. So technically global players are testing him for future content when it comes to Lufenia, which I think is definitely going to bite a lot of people in the butt later on. So just watch out. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, we could potentially see more stages down the road be Fire Absorb or Dark Absorb, you know, something along the lines, to try and counteract Vivi if they really start thinking that Vivi's a problem. But I really do think Vivi will be solid for a long time unless the devs go out of their way to really kind of prevent him from, you know, running wild.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, but I've seen him used in every single Lufenia stage that we've run across in global so far, in some form or fashion. So, you know, players are definitely enjoying him. Players are loving him, what he does. But yeah, it really remains to be seen what the devs will do for him, and then what we'll see with the next global first LD. That's really the big question, because I think it's without a doubt Vivi's LD was a pretty big step up from the LDs we'd seen to that point. I mean, Vivi's LD was at the time was jaw dropping for global players with no experience of the JP side. So it makes you wonder when you start thinking about it. You know, oh my God, what's the next one gonna look like? But yeah, and something else that we also should mention about Vivi's kit is that after his EX, he does get that very, very nice double fire move, which I really, really like.
Ooh, yes, yeah.
Yeah, it's got what is it? A couple brave hits, HP dump with 50% splash, and then he batteries himself on attack, and then immediately does it again, which then then his LD follow up kicks in, and it's a lot of damage. He's pretty nice in the right circumstances.
I guess technically wasn't that the first follow up in the game? Because that came out in Arc 2, Chapter 2, right?
Yeah, you know, I guess you'd be right about that. Yeah, I think you're right.
See, we learn something new every day on this series.
See, that's why you guys subscribe to Riley. There you go. Like, comment, subscribe. All right.
All right, we got that out of the way. Let's go ahead and talk about the next person on our list, which I'm so sorry if I say this wrong. I'm just going to pronounce it the way that I see it, which is Lion or Leon. I don't know. So I'm sure I'm going to get a lot of smack for that in the comments. But that's who we're going to be talking about next. And this person's kit, okay. Her kit, Soul, is probably the most unorthodox kid I think I've ever seen in this game, because every little thing that you do affects something in her kit. And I know we were talking about her earlier, and I know you said you didn't use her a lot, and I don't even use her a lot either. I used her just recently in JP because I was able to get all of her curse artifacts, and I just kind of wanted to see how she was with the curse artifacts, which, spoiler alert, she's again busted and nuts. She does so much damage. But like, for example, I'll give you an example. So if we talk about her EX, it's called Walk the Plank. And if she, I could be so wrong when I'm saying this, but according to the database, if she moves before your comrades, then she gets Walk the Plank Plus, which does that little dispel at the end. And when you think about a little thing like that, and how she was before this EX came out, first of all, let's be honest, nobody used Leon when she first came out. I'm sorry. That's just how it was. When her EX Plus came out and all the curse artifacts came out for her, yes, she was absolutely on the top when it came to single target DPS and AoE DPS because she had both. But when her EX Plus came out, it's definitely when she started getting more onto the ladder because of this move specifically, since it dispelled. So when thinking about this and how this character kind of shaped into cursed artifacts, where do you think her downfall came? Because if you ask me this question, I think her downfall came just due to the fact that her kit is so complex compared to anybody else's kit. Like, you literally have to know what you're doing with her in order to get the highest output of damage with her, which I think is honestly, there's so much going on now, especially like with Lufenia fights having like every mechanic under the sun, and then having something else focused on it's just too much now. It's just too much.
Well, let me preface what I'm going to say with this. I actually know a few people that use Lion to this day. I know Alfie uses them. I have a friend, my Discord, Key, she uses Lion a lot. Lion in the right hands can still really pump out some nice damage. I feel like she has quite a lot of nice utility. Has a bunch of has some single target, has AoE, and then her EX is still very, very, very strong, and then that Dispel is pretty much always universally useful. But the thing with complex characters is that the average player probably isn't going to dig that character too much. I'm talking about characters like Lion, like Alice, like Lightning, where if you don't know their kits inside and out, and you don't understand what's happening basically at all times with their kit, you're going to lose a lot of damage. I have been on the global side. We just had a new raid release with Lightning's LDM Burst, and I made the mistake of doing some co-ops with randos, and oh my, I've seen some interesting, let's just say interesting Lightning players.
Yeah, I can only imagine.
Yeah, it's a little dangerous, but yeah, if these characters, it's kind of a double-edged sword, because some people really, really like these characters because they're so unique and they're so different, and some people just don't like these characters at all because they're trying to focus. Like you said, there's like a gazillion things happening on one stage now. We have Lufenia orbs, we have boss mechanics, we have what are our party members doing? What are our buffs? What are our buff timers at? What are our debuff timers at? What's our EX charge looking like? There's so many things happening in a fight, and so when you're trying to process all of this, especially with Alice, like there's a challenge quest where she was synergy for it. And I was just sitting there, like I barely had her built, and I was sitting there trying to use her, and I'm like, what the hell is actually happening here? I could not wrap my mind around anything, and I was just like, yeah, this character, as good as she looks, when I see other people use her, I'll never touch her because I'm just not getting it. So I feel like Lion suffers from that kind of player fatigue a little bit, in a sense.
Yeah, I honestly get exactly what you say about Alice, because unless you play 14 and really understand what a red mage does, because her kit is literally just copy paste from Final Fantasy 14, you're not gonna do good with her. For example, I wasn't even doing good with her when she first came out because I didn't understand that her EX only extends her combos. It's not really meant for doing damage. And, me being big brain, I was like thinking, okay, I'm just going to pop the EX whenever I see it because damage. And that's not at all what you do with her. And when it comes to someone like Lion, a big factor with most of these characters, well, all of these characters in the game, which I think you can agree to this Soul, is that all of these characters have to have some sort of attachment to our nostalgia ways when it comes to playing Final Fantasy. So Final Fantasy being Final Fantasy 11 that came out, I don't even know when. And when I first played Final Fantasy 11, it was back on the PlayStation 2, where you needed to have this big freaking like hard drive on your PlayStation, and it sounded like your PlayStation was like taking off into outer space to play the game. It was really sad. And I honestly played 2 seconds of it and I never played it again. So I think that also plays a factor into why you don't really see this character anymore. One, because we're now in Lithuania, so everyone's kind of like, who's the new LD on the block, and she hasn't received hers yet. So unfortunately, her kit is not finished. But another sense is no one really has that, attachment to really using her for now. Like, for example, me and you with lightning. I'll use lightning no matter what. Like, I don't care. It could be Thunder Absorb. I'll hate it, but she's still coming with me. But when it comes to a character like this, especially with her cursed artifacts, if you don't have her cursed artifacts, I'll tell you right now, she does poo-poo Kachu damage, and it's not even worth it. So unfortunately, when it comes to this particular character, I don't really see a rise for her yet, other than that little tiny peak that she had with her EX Plus. But she just kind of really fell hard after that, because no one really talks about her, but everyone knows Offmo. Everyone knows about that one.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, name recognition always certainly helps. I mean, it's people very rarely talk about Lion, but Arciela and Afma, oh man, yeah, you'd be hard pressed to find someone that isn't a big fan of theirs. Mysteriously, I think meta standing also plays a big part in that, because I've seen time and again where a character will become prevalent, and then everyone's like, oh yeah, I've always loved that character. Oh, I've always loved Gladiolus. He's one of my favorites, Final Fantasy 15. I'm like, okay. But
for all you people out there, that was soul tossing shade. Just wanted to point that out.
It was, but it's all in good fun. I mean, kinda. But I don't mean the ill will. I'm just calling how I see it. But yeah, Lion just being a curse character certainly doesn't help, and then being from 11, it doesn't do her any favors.
Yeah, because when you think about 11, you just think about like the poster characters, Shantoto. That's really it. You don't really think about any other character that's involved. Or the new, I guess, I don't know if she was a poster one either, but yeah, oh god, I always butcher her name. Iora. I know Alfie's gonna slap the hell out of me now.
Oh yeah, for sure. I say Iroha. I have no idea. I have honestly no idea how to pronounce it, but yeah, she looks pretty nice.
She is really nice, spoiler alert, so just keep that in mind. But okay, so now we're going to get to the more fun character in our list here of cursed artifact characters. And I know Soul has a lot to say about this character, a lot. We're probably going to be here all night if I let him just talk, but don't worry, I'll kind of chime in and see what I can do to muffle down the amount of words he's going to say. But let's go ahead now and talk about Yuna. And I'm going to say this about Yuna right now. I love Final Fantasy X too. I love it over 10, so I'm so sorry for people who love 10. I love 10 too. I especially loved it because of Riku and Yuna. Those are like my two all-time favorite characters, right below Lightning. I just love Yuna that she has two different colored eyes. That's just what drew me to her, so I always love that aesthetic with her. And I love the fact that her gunner outfit is just beautiful. Can't complain about that. But let's go ahead and talk about, I guess, first, how she kind of fell. Now, I know Soul is the one who played this game during the dawn of time, and I started way later. But when I first came into the game, I honestly didn't even have Yuna. Like, I just unlocked her throughout playing the story, and I just kind of didn't really touch her. So when I got around to actually building characters, I touched Yuna, and I was like, she doesn't have any attack abilities. Why is this? And then Arc 2 comes out, and we have Pain. And then we get an outfit for Yuna, which is her gunner outfit, which I think came out earlier than that. I'm not sure. Don't quote me. But I bought it on Pain's event. And when I was using her there, I was like, huh, she really doesn't have any attack abilities. What is going on with this character? And her curse artifacts, for one, are probably one of the best, right below Sarah's. She buffs herself, I think, by like 90% of her max brave plus 30% from her other one. So she gets like 120 altogether, which is bonkers thinking about it. But then when you look at her kit, that's not really a lot because she has such low brave. So that's why they give her such a high boost in brave, because her brave initially is horrible. And when you think about where she is now, I still want to say, which we may disagree about this, or maybe may agree, I don't know. I still want to say that she's just continually falling off because she still has no way of dealing damage outside of her EX, which to me is honestly just pitiful because they could have done so much with that EX soul, so much that giving it just Val for it still was just kind of like a slap in the face. I'm sorry. I just feel like they could have like done the EX where she just changes into her gunner form and then, bang, all these HP attacks come out of nowhere. But no, it's just the summon. And seeing her now with her curse artifacts, because I have perfect for her 108 and the charged Yuna, she's still just hitting like horribly. And I feel like there's just no way to fix this. So until there's like a physical way in the game where she is just shining because she's got her full kit, LD, synergy, she's just a headache. She's just a headache.
So Yuna, just as a disclaimer, Yuna is one of 3 SS tier waifus that I have for Final Fantasy. The other 2 being Lightning and Riku. I absolutely adore Yuna in Final Fantasy X. We're not talking about the sequel. Me and Riley will fight. I love Yuna. I adore her. I love her character. I really can't say enough about her as a character in 10. So when I started playing DFFOO and I got some of her gear, the funny thing about Yuna is that actually early on, Yuna was one of the better. I don't even think you know this, Riley. Yuna was actually one of the better units early on, like very early on. The reason for
Sorry, I didn't hear any of that because I completely cut your mic off after you said you don't talk about the sequel.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yeah. That was just me throwing shade, but go on.
Oh, I see. We got the funnies. Okay. Anyway, what was that? Oh shit! No, I lost my train of thought. Fuck. Okay, hold up. Okay. So very early game, Yuna was actually one of the better characters. The reason for this is because her 15 CP, which this sounds comical now because of the way the game is, but back then her 15 CP was really, really, really good. Fun fact, Yuna, without her 15 CP, her skill 1, which is, as you guys know, for the 3 people that have used Yuna in the last year, is a party-wide party cleanse. So it removes all the debuffs and also batters people. Without the 15 CP, it's a single target move. It's not party-wide. And I think it also gets its like battery nerfed or something. So back then, not only having a way to get rid of debuffs, but also a party-wide battery move was actually pretty damn good. Yuna was pretty good back then. I used her quite a bit, and then the rest of the game happened. Her 35 CP, it's so underwhelming. Neither of her skills to this day, have an HP dump attached, which at this point in the game, especially on the JP side, with the way Lufini is built, the way that turn counts are so tight, you really can't afford, sadly, you can't afford to use a character that's turn inefficient, or that doesn't have HP dumps, or doesn't do multiple things really well, because you'll just fail the stage. That's just how it goes. It's unfortunately sad but true. And the thing with Yuna is, see, I completely disagree with you on Yuna's EX. I think her EX looks gorgeous. I think her EX is very, very nostalgic. Everything, even down to when Velafor lands and Yuna, like rubs his cheek and then pats him on the beak and then he flies up. That's all ripped straight from 10. So for me, that was incredible. Like I the first time I saw that, I was like, oh my God. I'll tell you what, it's got me super, super hyped for Seymour. I hate Seymour, but if he gets Anima, with his LD, he's a day one draw for me. I gave him perfect artifacts in anticipation of him getting Anima at some point. So much I love Anima.
Wow, you hear that, guys? So now Soul loves Seymour because he's got his LD Anima.
Hey,
even though he was just talking about other people who do the same thing.
Hold on. No, this is dirty ass slander right here. No. I hate Seymour. I love Anima. I will draw for Seymour if he gets Anima. See? There we go. Very, very clearly spelled out there. But my point is, it's very, very nostalgic for me to see her very first summon. Really, the first time you meet Yuna, she just gained the ability to summon Velafor, and so it's a big moment in the game where she summons Velafor for the first time, and so I love that EX. The problem with it is, while the EX itself is pretty good, especially after the EX Plus, right after the EX Plus dropped, that EX was pretty solid. Her Brave Attack and HP Attack change accordingly. Now Velafor comes in and does his thing. But the problem is that Yuna's EX charges so slow that if you spend I think it's 5 turns of Velafor being around, if you spend all 5 turns of Velafor just doing the Brave or the HP attacks, the stuff you actually want to use, her EX will not be available when Velafor goes away. So this requires you at some point to basically force yourself to use one of her very underwhelming skills, and depending on how the fight's going, you might need to use a second one. So it's just even more, turn inefficiency. She's just kind of standing there not doing much. Her max Brave pool is hideous. It's one of the worst in the game. All of her cursed artifacts have a max Brave boost attached to them for good reason, because my God, they realized at some point, like, oh, we really did this girl dirty. We really need to help her out. So she needs so much help. She needs so much help, and it kills me to say it, but I really don't know how in the world they're going to go about doing that. Now, I said the exact same thing about Cater, because Cater, which we'll talk about here in a minute, Cater used to be like a running gag. She was so bad.
Yeah,
like her kit
she was bad. Yep.
Yeah, her kit was so ancient, it was a joke. Her EX Plus comes out, she gets a really solid rework. I've seen people still use her. I just saw people use her in 8's Lufenia, where she was balling out there. So she's definitely still usable. So I have confidence that the devs will be able to fix Yuna. I don't know how they're going to do it. They're obviously going to have to give her HP dumps, or if they, God forbid, if they don't, they have to either shorten her EX gauge timer, or extend Velafor's turns, or give her some powerful, and I mean powerful, frame buffs. Like, I'm talking like HP damage up to the party plus gazillion, to make up for the fact that she herself isn't that great. Now, a rework is guaranteed. There's no doubt in my mind about that. When she gets that LD, she's going to get a nice rework. And if they ever do secondary character bursts, I can about guarantee she'll get a burst as well because of her popularity. So I think there's a lot of potential for her, Riley, but as is right now, even in JP, which is 8, 9, 10 months away, however far in the future you guys are, she's still completely unusable. I hate to say it, but my lord, there's no hope for her for quite a long time.
Yeah, no, and I even got her World of Illusions weapon, which, if you don't know what that does, or if anyone else doesn't know what that does, or if for a fact if anyone didn't know she even had one, she has one. And all it does, okay, get ready, this is the gag, it changes her Brave attack to Thunder element attacks. How does that help her?
You know what's funny is that that only applies to her regular Brave attack. So the moment she got her EX, her World of Illusion weapon became completely useless, because the only time you'll use her Brave attack is when Velafor's out, and then it doesn't apply to Velafor. So, go figure. And
that is honestly missed opportunity right there, completely missed opportunity, because had that have been fixed beforehand, Valifor would actually be a pretty solid summon, because you would have Thunder Enchant on Valifor without even needing Thunder Enchant. He would just hit Thunder, which honestly is bad when you think about things like Thunder Absorb and how, prevalent that is. But when you think about, Party Enchant and all of that, it's actually really good, especially in Global right now where Imperial Enchant is on the rise. And seeing a character like Luna, oh my gosh, Yuna.
Fake fan.
It's just really sad because she is honestly a poster character for 10. She's on the cover, same thing with Tidus, and she's also the poster character for 10 too. And seeing a character like this who have, like you said, many, many fans, okay? They're not going anywhere either. She's got numerous followings, and to see her in this state is honestly really sad, because could have done so much to her by now. It's just kind of like, what are they waiting for? Are they just waiting for the LD? Like, I don't know at this point, because if you ask me, even if the LD comes and she gets, she's still going to be Yuna, or who's hitting ones. And you have all these cursed artifacts for her, perfect. And you have her MLB, you have her EX Plus, you got the LD, and you're still hitting like 300s, if that. That's still really disappointing in today's game. So, like you said, unless this LD is like freaking bonkers, and I'm talking like bonkers, like this thing better like break the game. Like, you pop her LD and the game uninstalls because it's that freaking broken. Like, that's how broken this LD needs to be. And if it's not on that level, I really don't see her kind of coming back into relevancy. And then, like you said, if secondary characters, which I don't even consider her a secondary character, I consider her on par with Tidus, gets a burst weapon, she better get a burst weapon, honestly. And that burst better be like the best freaking burst in this game, hands down.
Yeah, no, I agree. I would definitely call her like a first like top tier protagonist, but it definitely seems like the devs lean more towards Tidus for whatever reason, and they're not the first people that have done that. So I call her second tier protag, but yeah, she's definitely on top for me. I just had to cut in and say that there, but all right, yeah, go ahead.
All right, you're not on top. Okay.
That's right.
All right, you guys, that is the ending to part 1 of the Cursed Artifact characters. So, as you know, me and Soul are covering a lot of information for these characters, so we just unfortunately had to cut this into 2 parts. Do not worry, I've already finished the second part, and it's scheduled to release within a couple days, so you don't have to wait long for it, I promise. But with that being said, guys, thank you so much for watching today's video. I really do appreciate it. And like I was telling Soul earlier, it's mostly you guys and him that have been helping me continuing this series. So thank you so much. Honestly, I'm very humbled by it. I've also recently reached 250 subscribers, which is awesome. I can't even imagine reaching that number days ago, and here I am. So thank you, and it's all because of you guys. So thank you, honestly. I know I keep saying thank you, but that's all I can really say, I guess, for my gratitude. I always want to show you guys that I'm completely humbled and gratified by the community. So, as always, thank you. I'm gonna stop saying that, I promise. But with that being said, guys, as always, I'll see you next time.